faster.
Dr. John, I'm sorry.
Thank you. So my name is Nuri. It's really an honor to be here because I see many of you remind me of how I was when I was 15 coming into this country for the first time alone. I was an exchange student from a small city called Suncheon in Jeollanam-do, Korea. And coming here, I didn't know anyone. I didn't have any family members. In fact, it was my first time, first person in my family to travel abroad. And so I think the one story that really captures how I handle all the life's transitions, which is repeated over and over again, and you'll see that a lot in your career transitions, is, my first year in the US, I wasn't fluent in English. I wasn't aware of the cultural differences and all of that stuff. I was put into a junior class in high school, and this class that was particularly difficult for me was US history and literature. I didn't know what I was doing in that class because I was never taught that before. And after getting a D, as a Korean, my mom would be surprised, I got my first D for the first time in class. But after the first semester, I did that for first quarter, report that had a D. The teacher sat me down and said, why don't we just try something different? Why don't we try a different, maybe an easier class? You shouldn't say that exactly, just making sure that I wasn't offended. But basically what it came down to is why don't I put myself in an easier game mode, right? And in the moment, I thought to myself, that would make my life so much easier because I don't have to stay up all night studying and trying to decipher, how to translate these words into something that I can understand. But then on the other hand, my other part of my thought process went like this. If I didn't face this challenge right now, I wouldn't have the courage to face that again next time. If I didn't face this now, I wouldn't try this again. It would be so much harder for me to try it again. And I stuck it out and ended that class with an A. And I tell you this not just to, basically brag about myself, but it's really about how I handle every single challenge, whether it be financial, legal complications, career uncertainty, what have you. It's all based on how I saw it. And once I changed the way I looked at my situation and what opportunity for growth there was for me, I changed and I was able to pivot and I was able to adapt. And coming into Atlanta, after years of studying in a lab, trying to be a neuroscientist, now I have a PhD in neuroscience from Emory. My paper was just published 2 weeks ago in Nature. You may be aware that it's one of the best journals in the neuroscience field. And I'm proud of that work, and I did a lot of hard work for that. Everybody thought that I was going to go into academic route, but I didn't because I knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, and I always had the entrepreneurial mindset. I wanted to do things on my own way, and that's what turned me into an entrepreneur. That mindset. Nobody had to approve me or being an entrepreneur. Nobody had to give me a grant of permission to do that. I made a decision to do something different for my life, and that turned me on a different path. And I believe that that's consistent. It has been consistent across my entire life journey so far. So I'm happy to share more about that later.
And for those of